Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we are so excited right now. We are also a bit nervous to be able to speak with a world best teacher at this moment.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate any contribution that I could make in
Yeah.
terms of answering any questions that
Yeah.
your teachers and students may have.
So definitely, it's a great opportunity for us. So without wasting a minute, I would like to ask my students to jump into the session. Nagasri, I start with you, please.
Good morning. Students, can you just all turn your cameras on? I would like to see your beautiful faces.
Yeah. So all the students, turn your cameras on. So we are with gold, I mean the world's best teacher. So Nagalakshmi, Bhagyasri, Kusuma, everybody turn your cameras on. Please do it.
Yes, yes. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see your beautiful faces. Look at those faces.
So
You
yeah,
guys are so beautiful.
yeah. So Sai Nagasri, please go ahead and ask the question.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Sai
Hello.
Nagasri, as a seventh grade student. I am from ZPHS Ailavaram. I profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to interact with you. My warmest congratulations to you on your success. I feel proud to ask a question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Go ahead.
What are your unforgettable moments as a teacher?
Could you repeat the question?
What are your unforgettable moments as a teacher?
Oh, my unforgettable moments. I think I have so many unforgettable moments as a teacher, but I think because I'm a 12th grade teacher, some of my best and proudest moments are seeing my 12th grade students graduate and walk across the stage with their diploma, because they spend 4 years in high school. And most of my students, well, all of my students are immigrants and refugees. And so they struggle a lot. They have so many different challenges to overcome. And so when they actually cross that stage in 12th grade, I think that's my proudest moment, because I'm a 12th grade teacher and I'm one of the last influences that they'll have before they go out into the world. So for me, that's the proudest moment.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your information. It is Shruti. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am. This is Shruti, a seventh grade student. I feel honored to interact with you. Let me congratulate you on your great achievement.
Thank you.
May I pose you a question?
Go
Yes.
ahead.
Could you please explain about the achievements of US Allied International Track and Field?
Oh, so my US Elite International Track
Yeah.
and Field is a nonprofit that I started with my sister. When we got out of college, we started a nonprofit organization because we realized that there were students like us who wanted the opportunity to go to college and have an education like us. And so that was a way of us to pay it forward. When I say pay it forward, I mean to reach back and help those who actually need the help. So we really want to make sure that every student who wants to accomplish their dream can use their gifts and their talent in order to get to college. So for me, I was on a track and field scholarship, and a lot of kids in high school are like myself. They come from very poor background, and so it's very important that we get scholarships to go to college because our parents can't pay for it. And so US Elite International Track and Field Inc., as it says, track and field is an opportunity for students to use their track and field talent or their talent in sports to help them get scholarships into college. And so that's what our organization does. We help students who are in sports to use that to get scholarships and other awards to go to college where they don't have to actually pay anything for college. They go to college for free.
Yeah. What a magnificent I think platform where you are providing the free scholarship to all the students who are actually underprivileged. I think hats off to you and your sister for this great
Thank you.
initiation. In fact, so yes, Kusma, over to you. Kusma.
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
My name is Kusmasri. I am 13 years old. I belong to Ailavaram. I am in class 7 at ZPHS Ailavaram. It is a great honor to me to be able to speak with you today. May I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes, go ahead.
What made you to redesign the curriculum meant for first generation American immigrants?
Okay, could you repeat the question, please?
What made you to redesign the curriculum meant for first generation American immigrants?
Okay, so what made me redesign the curriculum for my students who are mostly immigrants is that the American way of teaching students is really different from a lot of the different ways my students who are coming from different countries have learned. And so it's important that I incorporate the different things from their country and different strategies from their countries and how they have learned. And because that's important, because they're in a new country and they're learning so many different things and so many new things are coming at them. And so it's really hard for them to process all of those new ideas. And so when we think about culturally relevancy means that you take what students already know and you incorporate that back into what you're teaching them. And you also make sure that whatever you're teaching them, it's applicable to life, meaning that they can connect it to their own life, they can connect it to the real world. So that's one of the reasons why I made the curriculum so culturally relevant, is that students are able to engage not only in the classroom, but also in their communities and understand how what they're learning in the classroom applies to their life outside of the classroom. And they can use those skills to apply to whatever they're doing in their lives, whether they decide to go to college or whether they decide to go and take a job after school. Those skills will definitely prepare them to do so.
So that's really awesome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madhubabu garu, are you available?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah,
Good evening.
please, sir. Please go ahead and interact with me.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
First of all, a big congratulations to you, ma'am,
Thank you.
because achieving the world best teacher, and we are really proud and we are very, very happy to interact with you. In fact, we must thank our Hari Krishna sir for providing this wonderful opportunity.
Yes.
And what exactly we would like to know is how well you interact with your students and what kind of curriculum you are following. And see, in our area, actually, most of the students are from rural background, and their problem is that they can't express their views well, and they are lacking good communication skills. And is there any such some shortcuts that you can provide to our teachers so that we can try to implement to improve our students' communication skills, ma'am? Please.
So in order to improve students' communication skills in your classroom, I think the first thing that you have to do is you have to build relationship with students. If students do not have a relationship with teachers, they're not going to communicate with you. If you don't show them that you care about them, they're not going to communicate with you. One way, a lot of students, especially when they come from backgrounds that where they experience a lot of poverty, a lot of times students feel ashamed or they feel as if no one really cares about them or no one cares about their issues. And I think when we start addressing those issues and showing students that we care, we start building those authentic relationships with them. And once we start building those relationships, those walls start coming down and those students start communicating their needs. We also need to give students an opportunity to contribute to what they're learning. And what that means is that instead of just designing a curriculum that you think will best suit them, what you can do is a survey. Ask them about what they know and so that you can understand what they don't know. One of the things I do when I go into my classroom, when I'm going to start a new unit for students to learn, is we do what's called KWL. So it's what students know, what they want to know, and what they have learned. So the K is what students know. So once you're going to teach, you have to survey through different activities what they already know. So give them a quiz or maybe a diagnostic exam, or have them just do questions, and so students can have conversation with each other and see, and then you observe. You are the facilitator, you're observing and you're letting them talk, and through that you'll know how much they know and who knows what and who does not know what. And through that, then you start designing what it is that you're going to be teaching your students. And then at the end, of course, then you assess what they actually have learned. So that's one good strategy. Well, so that's two, right? So building relationships is one. Allowing students to become a part of that curriculum is two. Getting their own ideas. In the classroom, number three, using the KWL concept is three, right? So when you allow students to have a voice in the curriculum, what that means is that then it becomes more culturally relevant. Culturally relevancy does not only mean you are incorporating students from different culture. Even if your students are from the same area, it is important that we think about culturally relevance as well, because they come from different households, they come from different values, they come from different upbringing. And so because of that, some of your students are well-traveled, some of your students have never traveled, some students have eaten at really nice restaurants, some of them have never eaten at restaurants, some of them have never been to a hotel, just different experiences. Some of them have gone to some of your country's capitals and museums, and they have a wealth of different things that they're bringing into the classroom. And that's what culturally relevance means. You have to find out what your students are bringing into the classroom. It's not just about whether they're coming from different countries, but what backgrounds are they coming from, and what are they bringing into the classroom? What can they add? And bring all of those things, those diverse perspectives and those differences into the classroom, acknowledge them and celebrate them, and infuse them into your curriculum, and make sure that all students feel valued. They feel like they're a part of something. And that's how you communicate with them. That's how you get to build relationships with them, because now you're bringing in what they know and you're bringing in their lifestyle into the classroom, and they feel appreciated, they feel acknowledged, they feel recognized, they feel valuable. And then they become assets. And that also helps to take care of classroom management. So if you're having trouble with students in your classroom, that's because they're not understanding and they don't feel connected to either you or what you're teaching. And so once you use those strategies, then you can start kind of bridging that divide and bringing students all into the classroom and teaching them more holistically.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for giving a comprehensive reply regarding the question. TVS Ramesh Garu, are you there? Ramesh Garu, please respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, please go ahead, sir. Interact with me. Would you like to take some time, sir? And may I go to some other? Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, meanwhile, Taslima, would you like to interact with ma'am? Taslima, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Taslima Nasrin. I am from Battiprolu. I don't have much time for hobbies these days, but in the future, I would like to become an English teacher. I am blessed to interact with you. My hearty congratulations to you on your extraordinary achievement. Can I ask a question, ma'am?
Yes, go ahead.
What method you would love to use to teach English language?
What method to teach English language? So that's
Yes,
that's a big question. But to teach English language, I think one of the first things I usually think about is finding out where students are in terms of their reading ability, because literacy is one of the things that helps us to determine students' level of proficiency, right? So proficiency means how well they can read, how fluent they can read, how many words they know. So we think about building vocabulary. Vocabulary is one of those great things that influences how students speak and and how students put sentences together. So I would say the first thing we need to do is learn social vocabulary. Social vocabulary are the lower level vocabulary that you learn on the playground, that you learn when you're talking to your peers. And then academic vocabulary are those words that you learn in your classroom, that your teacher gives you, that you have to study, that they have to explain to you. And so as you are in your classroom, as you are increasing your English or increasing your language ability, you need to make sure that you're trying to use those words. Every time you're talking to your friends, try to use those words. When you're talking to your teachers, when you're writing in class, your stories or just your answers to your teachers' questions, try to use those words. And another big thing is reading. You have to read a lot of English books. If you're also television, when you're watching television, try to watch television in English, and that will also help your English. Even though you're sitting at the television and you may not understand some of the words, what you can do is put the caption on at the bottom of the television. And so as the movie or the news or whatever you're watching is going on, you're also reading those English words. So those are some ways you can improve your English. So really think about vocabulary, really think about reading a lot of magazines. It doesn't have to be your textbooks. Read something that you are interested in, something that is fun for you, right? And also watch a lot of television that is in English. So those are 3 good tips that you can use to increase your English proficiency.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
you, ma'am.
Ramesh garu, are you available now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sure, ma'am. This is Ramesh from Andhra Pradesh. Hearty congratulations. It's a great surprise to talk with you. You won the international level prize.
Thank you.
You are a great teacher. You are inspiring us a lot. I am working here with the Curriculum and Textbooks Development Department. I want to know a few things regarding English teaching. The first thing is, in our classrooms, it is heterogeneous classroom, different people are coming from different backgrounds. But the problem with us is, it is not so easy to develop English language speaking ability among students. What is the tip to overcome these challenges at your level?
So just so I'm clear about what the question is. So when students are coming from different backgrounds with different levels of English language, like some are higher and some are lower. And what strategies to use to help them? Okay, all right. So when we have, of course, just like myself, because I teach immigrant students and some of them are what we call newcomers. They're just coming into the country, so they have very, very limited English proficiency. And then we have students who have been in the country and they're coming from middle school, which is, I teach 12th graders. And so you have students who have been in the country from they were in primary school. I think you guys call it primary school, right?
Yeah, primary.
We call it middle school. And so they've been in school from primary school in the US. So they have a little bit more English. And then you have students who just came into the country at 9th grade, which is where our high school starts. And so they have to be in classes with those students. And it's really, really challenging because by the time they get to 12th grade, which is my class, you have some students who we say have exited WIDA, which means that they are on a higher level of proficiency, almost as the native speakers. And then you have those kids who just came in at 9th grade who are still on, still trying to get to that proficiency level. And what we call them L2 because they're still in the process of trying to make sentences, trying to write paragraphs. And then we have our other kids who are already writing a whole essay. So for the kids who are writing essays, what I would suggest you do is that for those students, you actually let them do more independent learning. And for the students who are lower in their language proficiency, you need to find ways of putting them in small groups and have more intensive work with them. When you're, so here are two things I'll say. One is differentiation, and two is scaffolding, right? Differentiation, making sure that all the students that you're teaching have some level of differentiation to accommodate their reading level. For example, I'm teaching Antigone, and Antigone is written in Old English, right? And here we are, we have kids who can't barely read English, and now you're giving them Old English, right? So my higher students, what I would do is my higher students actually will read the original text. Then I'll have my advanced students read the text. Then my students who are below, a little bit below advanced, those students, I would give them the actual English text, which is the text, the Old English is just translated into regular English. It's the same level of rigor, it's just easier to read because it's translated into regular English. Then my students lower than that, what I would do is I would give them a text that has pictures in it. Golly, I'm trying to remember what they call those texts, but it's almost like a comic strip, right? And they actually have them. And it's so funny because I didn't know that those books were transcribed in that way until I started doing my research to make sure I accommodate all my students. So they do have those, they're called graphic novels. There you go, graphic novels. So you find graphic novels, it tells the same story using the same language, but it also has pictures, almost like a comic strip. And then my lower students, what I would do is I would find lower level texts. So Antigone, even though it's a higher level text, they actually have a middle school version of Antigone. So I would find the middle school version of Antigone, and my students who are at the lowest level will use a middle school version. They're all reading the same story. They're all processing the same story, processing the same themes, same concepts, but at different levels, at different reading levels. So when we're actually having discussions in class, everyone can tell the summary of the story, right? And they all get the summary right, but the level at which they actually were able to access that is different. So access is very, very important. Now scaffolding. Now they all have to write an essay on Antigone. Now let's pick a theme in Antigone. Let's pick power, right? If we're picking power in Antigone, we've already discussed all the themes. We've already discussed what power looks like. Now they have to write, say maybe a 5-paragraph essay. So my top level students, my middle to top level students will be writing their essay independently. My lower level students, what I'll do is I'll scaffold for them, which means that I will go ahead and create a graphic organizer, and then I'll map out the different parts of the essay. And so what I'll do is I'll map out the top and tell them, just give them clues about what goes in the introduction, then what goes in the first paragraph, the second paragraph, third paragraph, and then the conclusion. So I'll kind of give them like an outline of what, and my students who are at the absolute lowest level, what I'll do is I'll give them that same outline, but what I'll also do is I'll add in some sentence starters for them. Because it's very important, because that's one of the reasons why when we ask students to write, they turn back in blank papers. They have some ideas in their mind. Remember, we've all read this book, we know about the book, and we know what we want to write, but they don't have a starting point. So giving them some sentence starters, maybe say in the text, it said that Antigone was a, and then they have to finish the sentence and keep writing their paragraph, right? And then You just maybe nudge that, add some evidence here, add explanation here, and then your concluding sentence. So we need to, for the lower level students, give them sentence starters. I hope that helps. I hope that kind of answers your question and helps. So number one, differentiation, and number two, scaffolding.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving detailed information regarding the question. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's move on to the, yes, sir. Ramesh garu, would you like to ask any supplementary question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ma'am, I want to know some more clarification regarding how to create interest among students to read books independently, ma'am. What is your strategy?
Okay, repeat the question.
Shall
Say
I
it again.
repeat? What is your strategy to make students to read independently in English books, ma'am?
Okay, strategies to help students read books independently. The first thing you want to do is introduce students to reading in a fun way. So one of the first things you can probably do is read together, read something fun together. Another thing is ask students to bring something into the classroom that they like to read. And then let them read to their peers, or let them do book reports on it. One of the strategies I've had to employ in my classroom with my students is in the beginning of the school year, I make students write their own stories. They write about themselves. And once they write about themselves, they get all excited and they want to know what others write about themselves as well. So they share their writing. So we start the reading process by allowing them to read each other's work. Then we move on to, now let's read work of other people. So instead of us reading each other's story, now let's read other people's stories that are going to be similar to our stories. So I usually have students start out with narratives. And the reason I have them students start out with narrative is that students find more joy in reading about people's lives, especially people who are similar to them. So, and that's where culturally relevancy comes in as well. Find texts that are of their background, find texts that are of student struggles or someone they identify with. Ask them who their heroes are, and then find those and give it to them to read, and then let them write about it. And then you gradually move from them writing their own stories to them reading other people's stories, now to them reading text. So it's a buildup, and not just throwing a book at students and say, read this 100-page book, right? But we start a short story. Short stories can be from 1 page to 10 pages. And then we're building their reading stamina, right? Because especially students are struggling with English, you don't throw a whole 100-page book at them and say, read this, right? So we build that from them telling their story on 1 page or 2 page or 3 pages, just writing their own stories and sharing it with each other, to them reading narratives of other people that is 1 page or 2 page or 3 pages, to reading short stories that goes up to 10 pages and sometimes 20 pages, to moving into that whole text. So it's building their stamina. And just remember that as you're building their stamina, you have to make sure that you're building vocabulary, and you have to make sure that students are talking. Talking is so important, that they're talking to each other. There are also reading strategies that you can employ that help students in the reading process. What I do is every time I always give students at least 10 to 20 minutes as soon as they come into my classroom to begin the day with the reading. And after they've completed their 20 minutes of reading, I give them 5 minutes to discuss. And I give them a card that has these strategies, how to connect to the reading and discuss what they're reading with their peers at their tables. So one strategy is connect. So connect, under connect, you have sentence starters that says, I can relate to this character because, I like this character because this character does this the same way I would have done what, so find sentence starters. Ask questions. questions about things that they want clarification from in the text. So you have before, during, and after reading strategies that you can employ. And some of those things you can actually access through the internet. Just look up before, during, and after reading strategies so that students are constantly connecting with what they're reading. Because if they cannot connect with what they're reading, they're not going to enjoy it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the elaboration. I think I request you, actually we have 8 minutes time is left. Would you mind reconnecting again once the session is concluded?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Are you asking if I can continue the session?
Yeah, because we have many questions actually. My students are also there and
Sure.
they would like to ask some more questions.
Sure, I've reserved an hour for this.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my dear friends, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. So my teacher.
I see a hand raised. Gatu, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, yeah, Jagdish, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
My name is Jagdish, studying 7th grade at ZPHS Ailavaram. I feel privileged to speak with you. I am extending my heartfelt congratulations to you on becoming a Global Teacher Prize winner. I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Who inspired you to become an English teacher?
Who inspired me to become an English teacher? So my inspiration came from the fact that I was an immigrant and I saw other immigrants that did not know how to speak English. I actually am an immigrant to the United States of America, and I actually came from Jamaica. So I came from Jamaica and I came to the United States for a better education. And so when I came to the United States, even though I'm an immigrant, I came from a country that spoke English. But when I came to the US, I saw other students who were struggling with their English, and they were immigrants just like myself. And so I used to tutor also other students who had, even though they spoke English, but they did not have the level of English that they need to have in order to be very successful. And so what I had to do was think about how I could help those students. And one way that I could help those students was to teach them English, because the more English that these immigrant students learn, the better opportunities they will have, not only to be successful in high school, but they will be able to go to college as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Anantalakshmi garu, please go ahead. Anantalakshmi garu.
Thank you, sir.
So Anantalakshmi garu, actually we have 5 minutes time left in this time slot, and we have to reconnect again. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I feel it's very great opportunity to speak to you, ma'am. Oh, a great teacher like you. Let me congratulate you on your great success.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I came to know that you keep books in your classrooms appropriate to their level. So how many books do you prescribe to the sixth standard students? So specifically, any books do you prescribe or do you suggest to them?
Well, for sixth graders,
Yes, ma'am.
Sixth graders.
Yeah.
So for sixth graders are in the process of reading novels. So so two things. There are books that students are going to be using for the curriculum in your classroom, where all students are going to be using those books. And then there are books that you will have in your library. So in your classroom library, it's important that you have books for every level for students. And what you can do is they have on a website called Scholastic. So you can actually go to Scholastic. I think it's scholastic.org. if I find it, I'll give it to Krishna later. So you can actually go to Scholastic and you can do the Scholastic Test and find out what level your student is reading at. And because if you just order a whole set of books for your students and they're not at that level, it will be very difficult for them to read it. So you have to find out what their reading level is based on their score. And then Scholastic also will give you ideas of books in their actual reading score level, so that you can decide which books you want to purchase for your students or which books you want to make available for them to read. And also Newsella is also another great website. If you go to Newsella also, if you put in articles for your students to read, Newsella, you can put in their reading level as well. And Newsella will actually break down those articles for the students as well, or suggest different articles at their levels that they can read.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I want to ask you another question, sir.
Yes, ma'am. And mind you that we have 2 minutes time is left in this time slot.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. No problem. I will continue it.
Yeah, ma'am. So
how do you teach vocabulary? Already you have explained to us, but I need some more examples from you, ma'am.
How to teach vocabulary. So
yes,
so you have to break down so there are different ways to teach vocabulary. One of the first things to do is find graphic organizers. There are a lot of different graphic organizers that are online. So to teach lower level students vocabulary, when I say lower level students, lower grade students, because I teach high school. So to teach middle schoolers how to use vocabulary, it's easier to use graphic organizers. So there are like clusters, right? So you'll put the word in the middle, and then you'll find different things that the students can associate with that word. For example, if you use a word, say America, right? You put the word America. You put the word America in the middle, and then on the side, you'll ask students, what are some things you can associate with America? They'll say the flag, they'll say the bald eagle, they'll say the White House, they'll say the president, right? And then you take all of those things together and ask them to put it in a sentence. And when they have put those things in a sentence, it's easier for them to process the meaning or the idea around those words. Another word, and that's clusters. Another word is, another thing is context clues. Give them context clues. So if you're teaching a vocabulary word.
Kashia, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, we have no time is left. So I request you and other participants, please reconnect again one more time. So I am going to end this session. So please rejoin.